Did you know that the 1970s were a time of great change for the American kitchen? It was a time of convenience food boom, Crockpots and Jell-O, from cans of cream soup, tubs of gelatin, shredded cheese, and trays of golden casseroles. These are secrets that today's generation barely knows. In today's video, let's explore 30 clever cooking tips that were the secret weapons of 1970s housewives. Biscuit Lid. Instead of having to intricately knead flour dough, wait for it to rise, or roll it out into a perfect crust for a casserole, housewives would buy thin rolls of refrigerated biscuit dough or ready-made dough sold in the cold section. This convenient dough layer was then gently placed on top of shredded chicken mixed with a thick cream soup sauce or any other casserole, creating the famous chicken in a biscuit casserole. This trick not only helps the casserole cook evenly, but also creates an irresistible golden crispy lid when it comes out of the electric oven, which was very popular at the time. The popularity of the oven in every home turned these crisp-topped casseroles into everyday meals, efficiently providing hearty protein. It is a testament to the resourcefulness of those women who knew how to utilize canned ingredients to ensure everyone in the family had a hot and satisfying meal. Cake mix with pudding. When you step into a 70s kitchen, you'll realize that housewives were always looking for shortcuts to sophistication. The Watergate cake is a perfect example. A recipe said to be connected to the political scandal of the Watergate hearings. Mothers would mix pistachio pudding mix directly into boxed cake mix. The pudding not only creates the characteristic unusual green color, but more importantly, it ensures the cake is always soft, moist, and has a denser texture, making it easy to slice and serve. The cake looks elaborate, as if it took hours to prepare, but in reality, it requires very little skill and time to make, perfect for housewives who wanted to impress at potluck parties. It was even associated with the Watergate hearings political scandal, or perhaps it was just a successful marketing ploy by General Foods. Unfortunately, modern cooks rarely consider this method, as contemporary tastes lean towards sweets with fewer artificial flavors, but it proved that creativity could always be found even in the most convenient ingredients. Beef and potato casserole. In the economic climate of the 70s, housewives always needed effective solutions to stretch inexpensive and common ground beef into a meal large enough for the entire family. For instance, when making hamburger potato bake, mothers would layer thin, seasoned ground beef, alternating with thin slices of potato and thick cream of mushroom or cream of onion soup. Sliced potatoes act as a filling, satisfying carbohydrate and easily absorb the rich flavor of the meat and the cream soup sauce. This is an easy and incredibly economical way to stretch 1 pound of ground beef into a large meal. This dish was popular not only in the suburbs, but also in rural areas where practicality and efficiency were always prioritized. The ground beef is spread evenly and slow-baked with the potatoes, creating a consistent and comforting texture when sliced. Modern versions might use homemade sauce instead of canned soup, but the spirit of the dish remains unchanged, the practicality of the kitchen. It demonstrates the resourcefulness of mothers who always ensured that no one in the family went hungry, no matter how tight the budget. Deviled seasoning for meat. To transform an ordinary pork chop into a memorable hearty dinner, 1970s housewives adopted the trick of deviling, a technique of enhancing flavors with pungent spices. The term deviling dates back to the 18th century, referring to adding rich seasonings like Dijon mustard, cayenne pepper, Worcestershire sauce, or red pepper to a breadcrumb mixture used to stuff the pork chops. Instead of simply frying or roasting the chops plainly, stuffing them with the seasoned filling helps the pork retain moisture during cooking and creates an explosion of spicy, pungent flavor in every bite. It helped housewives elevate a traditional dish into a lavish meal without much expense. Modern versions might substitute with whole wheat breadcrumbs or an apple filling for a sweet, savory balance, but nothing replaces the traditionally spicy, warm flavor of this deviled dish. The slow cooker, Crockpot, was one of the kitchen tools that defined the 70s, and blueberry cobbler is one of the desserts that maximize the use of this appliance. The trick is to cook the cobbler, a type of fruit-baked dessert, in the slow cooker. The slow cooker allows the cook to let the dessert self-infuse flavors and create a fluffy crust without constant attention. Low temperature and long cooking time help the fruit soften, release its natural flavors, and create a soft, airy layer on top. The popularity of the Crockpot made fruit desserts easier to prepare, regardless of the season. The slow cooker transformed complicated cooking into an enjoyable and less stressful experience, giving housewives more free time. The broken glass dessert. In the 70s, Jell-O was not just a dessert, it was a culinary sculpting tool, and the trick of creating the crown jewel dessert was the peak of this ingenuity. This dish uses the broken glass technique without requiring complex cooking skills. Housewives would make separate blocks of brightly colored Jell-O gelatin, like red, green, yellow, cut them into small squares, and let them float randomly within a creamy, airy mixture. This airy cream layer was usually made from boxed gelatin, mixed with whipped cream or cream cheese. This trick helped create an exquisite, almost sculptural dessert, with minimal skill required. It became the centerpiece at dinner parties and family gatherings because of its beautiful presentation and eye-catching colors. Today, it still appears at retro-themed gatherings, and while recipes might use more natural coloring, its fun and easy nature remain a cherished memory. Loaf Soufflé. Soufflé is a famous French dish known for its light, airy texture, but very difficult to prepare because it collapses easily. 1970s housewives found a smart trick to tame this dish, baking it in loaf form, cheese soufflé loaf, instead of individually in ramekins. By baking a mixture of cheese, eggs, and a small amount of flour into a structured loaf, they created an extremely stable version of soufflé, eliminating the worry of it collapsing immediately after coming out of the oven. Furthermore, baking it in a loaf makes the dish easier to slice and serve to more people, perfect for a light breakfast or lunch. This trick shows that the pursuit of convenience never sacrifices creativity. Conversely, it stimulates innovation in food preparation. While modern versions might reduce the flour to make a gluten-free dish, doing so loses the spirit of combining elegance and practicality of the traditional soufflé loaf. Custard using gelatin. In the 1970s, Spanish cream custard was a popular dessert, light and elegant, but the drawback was that traditional custard easily melts or requires complex chilling or bain-marie techniques. So, housewives came up with the idea of using eggs, milk, and just enough gelatin to create structure without making the dish stiff like a jelly mold. Gelatin acts as a light stabilizer, helping the dish hold its shape when served, allowing it to be cut into neat pieces, but importantly, it still melts gently on the tongue, retaining the characteristic smoothness of custard. Furthermore, this trick saves time spent at the stove compared to traditional custard, which easily curdles. Unfortunately, modern chefs now often replace gelatin with cornstarch or agar to achieve a smoother consistency. But using gelatin was the quickest and most common way during that era to achieve perfect results. Canned pineapple to tenderize meat. How to keep the classic meatloaf from being dry, dense, and crumbling when sliced? The Hawaiian meatloaf offered a creative solution. The trick used by mothers was to mix ground beef with canned crushed pineapple and top it with a sweet and sour sauce made from pineapple or tomato sauce. Crushed pineapple is an affordable, long-lasting ingredient that acts as a natural moisturizer. The sweetness of the pineapple helps balance the meat's savory flavor, and the natural enzymes in the pineapple keep the meat moist and soft, ensuring the meatloaf doesn't dry out or crumble when cut. Adding this tropical flavor was also a way to bring an exotic flair to everyday dinner, part of the popular tiki cultural craze at the time. This technique helped mothers easily prepare a hearty meal, save time, and ensure the meatloaf was always perfect. Today, this recipe is modernized with leaner meats like turkey, but the secret of adding pineapple is still maintained to ensure superb tenderness. fried Bologna cups. Bologna cups are a prime example of the resourcefulness and frugality of 1970s women. Bologna sausage is an inexpensive, popular deli meat often used in children's sandwiches. Instead of simply slicing it, housewives found a way to turn it into an edible vessel. They would quickly fry or bake the Bologna slices. The edges of the meat would naturally curl up, forming small, charming cups. These crispy cups were then filled with leftover mashed potatoes, scrambled eggs, or creamed vegetables. This dish transforms a humble slice of cold cut into a crispy, fun dish, maximizing the use of what was available in the refrigerator and pantry. This is a creative way to serve a delicious dinner with inexpensive ingredients and bring joy to children. Although today it might be considered quirky or outdated, this method is evidence that the best ideas sometimes come from utilizing leftovers and avoiding waste. Jell-O mixed with soda. The fascination with gelatin in the 70s was undeniable, and housewives were always looking for ways to make those firm jelly molds more exciting. The trick of using carbonated soda, specifically 7-Up, to create the 7-Up salad was an incredibly smart strategy. Instead of just dissolving Jell-O with water, mixing lime Jell-O gelatin with carbonated 7-Up soda added aeration to the jelly. The gas from the soda made the jelly texture lighter, airier, and slightly bubbly, turning it into a fun and brighter dish compared to typical fruit juice jelly. This recipe often included crushed pineapple and miniature marshmallows, adding both texture and sweetness. This dish requires no baking and can be made ahead, perfect for busy housewives who wanted to prepare dessert before guests arrived. Although today, gelatin salads have become a nostalgic novelty, combining canned ingredients with carbonated drinks shows the relentless creativity in the 70s kitchen. Tomato soup spice cake. Tomato soup cake may sound absurd to modern tastes, but it was an incredibly smart and ingenious cooking trick used by mothers in the 1970s. This method originated during the Great Depression, when resourcefulness was key. The cook would use concentrated canned tomato soup, often Campbell's, to replace some of the liquid in the spiced dessert cake recipe, such as cinnamon, nutmeg, cloves. The acid from the tomato does not make the cake savory. Instead, it acts as a natural moisturizer, ensuring the cake is always soft and amazingly moist. At the same time, the tomato enhances the warm, rich flavor of these spices. This is an economical and creative solution, utilizing a common pantry ingredient to enrich the flavor of the cake. The soup serves as a base to enrich flavor and ensure texture. This is a recipe passed down through generations as a wartime secret, proving that housewives always found ways to unexpectedly create delicious dishes from available ingredients. If you also find the creative cooking tricks of 1970s housewives truly admirable, hit the hype button to spread the beauty of that ingenuity. Salmon mousse, gelatin. In the 70s, salmon mousse mold, was an indispensable dish on the cocktail party table, and the trick to making it helped housewives achieve a refined appearance without needing professional chef skills. To make this dish, housewives would utilize inexpensive and easily stored canned salmon. They then combined it with cream cheese and a moderate amount of gelatin. The mixture was then poured into a decorative mold, often shaped like a fish or a wreath. By using gelatin, the cooks created a dish with a refined appearance and elegance, often served at cocktail parties or afternoon tea gatherings. Gelatin helps the mousse retain the crisp shape of the mold, making the dish impressive and easy to serve without complex baking skills. Although today, many might omit the gelatin and serve this dish as a spread with crackers, the salmon mousse mold remains a symbol of 70s culinary sophistication. In the 1970s, when housewives needed a quick bread without waiting for yeast to rise, they often chose quick bread recipes. Peanut butter bread was a smart trick, using peanut butter and baking powder instead of yeast to create a dense, soft, and rich loaf with just a few pantry ingredients. Simply mix peanut butter, eggs, milk, sugar, flour, and baking powder in one bowl without kneading and without waiting. Then pour directly into the pan and bake until the surface cracks slightly and the characteristic nutty aroma emerges. This was a way for them to utilize peanut butter, an always available pantry item, to make protein-rich bread that was easy to slice and extremely convenient for breakfast or a snack. This recipe emerged during the Great Depression and wartime rationing as a way to create satisfying protein-rich dishes with minimal ingredients. Culturally, this dish reflects the American love for peanut butter, a staple after World War II, and a way to use peanut butter beyond the traditional sandwich. Some versions are sweet, adding honey or cinnamon, while others remain savory, perfect for serving with butter or jam. Tater Tots topping. The church supper. Hot dish is a symbol of communal hospitality in the Midwest, designed to serve a crowd simply and satisfyingly. Few people know that the key to transforming a simple casserole of ground beef, corn, and cream sauce into a memorable meal is topping it with a layer of tater tots. Tater tots are ready-made, packaged, crispy fried mashed potato nuggets introduced in the 1950s as the perfect supplemental ingredient, providing a satisfying crunch and textural excitement to the soft, creamy casserole underneath. This topping not only creates an attractive golden crispy surface, but also adds a savory potato flavor. This ingredient was readily available, easy to store in the freezer, helping housewives save time on vegetable preparation and ensuring efficiency for community meals. Savory Jell-O salad with cheese is one of the most culinary logic-defying dishes of the 70s, yet it was an ingenious trick to make salad easier to serve. The trick here is using lemon or lime gelatin to bind the savory components together. Housewives would mix gelatin with shredded cheese, celery, canned olives, and other vegetables, then pour it into a mold and chill it. Gelatin helps keep all the savory ingredients, vegetables, olives, cheese, neatly contained within the mold, creating a structured block, highlighting the convenience of processed foods, canned olives, pre-shredded cheese. This dish became popular because manufacturers advertised gelatin as a versatile ingredient, usable for both sweet and savory dishes. Although today it is considered quirky, at the time it was a valuable addition to the dining table because it could be easily sliced and served without spilling. Breadcrumbs to temper liver flavor. In the 70s, liver was an abundant and inexpensive source of nutrition, but its strong flavor made it difficult for many people, especially children, to accept. But our mothers had a clever trick to deal with this problem, creating the savory liver loaf. By grinding liver, onion, and most importantly, mixing them with a large amount of breadcrumbs and eggs, and then baking it into a loaf, housewives cleverly masked the liver's strong flavor. Breadcrumbs act as an extender to stretch the ingredients, saving costs, while simultaneously softening and absorbing the pungent metallic taste of the liver. This trick helps create a dish with a smoother texture and more harmonious flavor compared to traditional pan-fried liver. This dish reflects an era where resourcefulness was key in the kitchen, where the goal was to ensure the family had enough nutrition at the lowest possible cost. Although liver loaf is less common today, it was once a nutritious and economical meal. One-pan corned beef breakfast. Corned beef hash bake is a perfect example of how 70s housewives turned simple canned ingredients into an easy and satisfying all-in-one meal. This dish reflects the era's love for easy one-dish meals. The trick is to elevate the traditional pan-fried hash into a nutritious breakfast event by baking it. Specifically, canned corned beef hash and potatoes are layered with onions, then topped with a layer of eggs and cheese, and baked. The baking process heats the layers evenly, the cheese melts, and the eggs set, creating a unified warm block. Canned corned beef hash was a pantry staple thanks to its role in wartime rations, being affordable and long-lasting, which was very convenient for busy housewives. Cream cheese and olive spread. At cocktail parties or afternoon tea gatherings in the 70s, cream cheese and olive sandwiches were an indispensable appetizer. Do you know the method busy hostesses used to make this dish? Simply, They just mixed finely chopped green olives and creamy cream cheese to create a savory, aromatic spread. This mixture not only creates a no-cook appetizer, but also has a harmonious richness and saltiness, perfect for spreading on thinly sliced sandwich bread or crackers. It provided housewives with an easy make-ahead appetizer that looked refined, but required minimal effort. This dish was a staple at cocktail parties, demonstrating simplicity yet effectiveness in entertaining guests. Today, people might substitute green olives with Kalamata olives for a more Mediterranean flavor, but the trick of simplifying the dish with these two basic ingredients remains a legacy of convenience. As concerns about sugar intake began to rise, 70s housewives looked for ways to create naturally sweeter desserts. They combined mashed sweet potatoes with diced pineapple and brown sugar. The natural acidity of the pineapple helps enhance the sweetness of the sweet potatoes, making the dish nutritious and gently sweet without needing too much refined sugar. Canned pineapple also provided necessary moisture, helping the pudding stay moist during baking. This combination bridges the gap between sweet and savory, often seen at holiday gatherings like Thanksgiving, but it is also a warm, comforting dessert for family dinners. This trick shows the ingenuity in using canned fruit not only for convenience, but also for improving flavor and nutrition. Grape jelly meatball sauce. Grape jelly meatballs are a classic party appetizer of the 70s, proving that unexpected combinations sometimes yield wonderful results. The smart trick here is simmering meatballs, often the pre-frozen kind, in a sauce mixture made from grape jelly and chili sauce. This is a convenient and economical solution, using readily available pantry ingredients that almost every household had. The fruity sweetness of the grape jelly perfectly balances the slight heat and tartness of the chili sauce, creating a unique and attractive sweet and sour sauce. The introduction and popularity of slow cookers, crockpots in the 70s, made this an ideal appetizer, as it could be slow cooked and kept warm for hours, perfect for potluck parties. This dish was once a crowd-pleasing appetizer due to its ease and unusual flavor. Tang powder pie filling. Tang, the famous orange drink powder associated with NASA's Gemini missions, was used by housewives as a smart baking ingredient. They typically mix Tang orange drink powder with sweetened condensed milk and whipped cream, then place this mixture into a crispy cookie crust. This pie requires no baking, is extremely simple to prepare, and delivers a vibrant citrus flavor, reminiscent of a creamsicle. Tang was also advertised as a futuristic alternative to fresh juice, and its use in desserts demonstrated a trend of trusting new, convenient products. Although today we tend to use real citrus juice, this Tang pie remains a testament to the 70s obsession with instant foods and space technology. Meatballs mixed with rice. Porcupine meatballs are a prime example of the resourcefulness and frugality of housewives in the 1950s and 1970s. You might not know that. To achieve the unique porcupine quill texture, they mixed raw rice extender, into the meatball mixture, ground meat, onion, before cooking them in tomato sauce. Because the rice expands during cooking, protruding from the meatballs to create the characteristic shape, it simultaneously increases the bulk of the dish. This is an extremely economical and beginner-friendly trick, helping transform a small amount of meat into a more satisfying, complete meal for the whole family at a low cost. Today, this recipe is almost forgotten due to higher ingredient costs and the rise of takeout culture, but it remains a lesson in thriftiness. If you are a regular of the channel and have watched videos before, leave a comment. I'm back right below so we can recognize you. Hot sauce to deepen, vegetable flavor. Squash casserole is a traditional, nutritious vegetable dish, but sometimes lacks appeal, especially for children. The smart trick housewives used to overcome this problem was adding a dash of hot sauce as a secret ingredient. The hot sauce does not make the dish overly spicy. It simply provides a hint of sourness and mild heat, helping to enhance and highlight the natural flavors of the squash and cheese. This trick makes the traditional squash dish more appealing, especially for picky vegetable eaters. Although squash is not everyone's favorite everyday dish, the trick of adding hot sauce proved that a little unexpected seasoning can significantly improve a simple dish, turning vegetables into the star of the meal. Pot roast is an indispensable dish for large family dinners and provides absolute comfort in family cuisine. This classic cooking trick relies on the slow and steady principle, simmering chuck roast along with potatoes, carrots, and beef broth slowly and patiently in a pot. This method is the key to transforming tough and inexpensive cuts of meat, like chuck roast, into butter-tender pieces. Pot roast symbolizes comfort and warmth in American family cuisine. It allowed busy housewives to place the meat in the pot in the morning and let it cook perfectly on its own without continuous monitoring, optimizing time and effort. This dish is considered a never-fail recipe when an experienced cook is in the kitchen, providing a satisfying, nutritionally complete meal for the entire family. Sauce-filled poke cake. Poke cake is an ingenious trick to ensure sweet cakes are always super moist and appealing while adding an unexpected layer of flavor. The trick is that after baking the cake, usually vanilla or chocolate, and while it's still warm, housewives would poke many small holes on the cake's surface using a wooden spoon handle. They would then fill these holes with liquid Jell-O, pudding, or sweetened condensed milk. This trick helps the filling penetrate deep inside the cake structure, making the cake super moist and creating layers of flavor. Jell-O strongly promoted this idea, turning a simple cake into an impressive masterpiece without the effort of complex frosting. This dish has gradually lost attention as modern tastes shift toward less sugar, but it remains a symbol of clever transformation using convenient, readily available pantry ingredients. Cherry Cola pulled pork. Cherry Cola pulled pork is a surprising flavor combination, but loved because the ingredients were readily available and inexpensive in the 70s. The trick is to slow cook pork loin or shoulder in a sauce made from cherry cola, BBQ sauce, and seasonings. The acid and caramelized sugar from the cola provide a light sweetness and, surprisingly, help tenderize the meat faster. This method was especially popular in the American South, where soft drinks and pork were everyday ingredients. Finally, slow cooking in a crock pot helps the pulled pork become melt-in-your-mouth tender, easy to shred, and thoroughly infused with flavor. Today, this sweet-savory BBQ combination still sparks curiosity, proving that housewives experimented with everything in the pantry to create delicious and efficient meals. Cream sauce from canned soup. Green bean casserole is one of the classic casseroles, and the secret to its convenience is the trick of using canned soup. Instead of spending time making bechamel sauce from scratch, housewives simply used concentrated Campbell's cream of mushroom soup as a quick cream base to bind the green beans and fried onions. This trick was created as a way for Campbell's to market canned soup, encouraging people to use them in everyday meals, not just as an appetizer. This Thanksgiving dish became a year-round meal due to its ease and convenience. Modern versions try to lighten it by using lower-fat ingredients, but the core recipe with canned soup still retains its distinctive nostalgia. Baking cornbread in a cast-iron skillet. Southern skillet. Cornbread is a simple, rustic dish, but it has one small trick that makes a big difference: baking the cornbread in a cast-iron skillet. This method, originating from Southern cuisine, creates the characteristic crisp crust that a regular oven struggles to match. This trick represents a cost-effective meal, simple ingredients, cornmeal, buttermilk, and minimal preparation time. The previous generation of cooks had decades of experience using cast-iron skillets, helping them make cornbread much faster than modern cooks. This is a tribute to traditional kitchen tools and how they enhance the quality of the food. Divan sauce mixed with curry. Chicken divan is a classic 70s creamy chicken casserole, elevated by a small but effective trick: adding curry. The trick is that the cream sauce for the chicken casserole is mixed from cream of mushroom soup, mayonnaise, and a pinch of curry powder. The trick of adding curry creates depth of flavor and a slight surprise, warming up the flavor of the already rich, creamy chicken dish. This casserole harmoniously combines tender chicken, crisp broccoli, and a rich cream layer. The convenience of this dish lies in using canned ingredients as a base, then enhancing the flavor with spices. Chicken Divan is proof that housewives found ways to easily and conveniently bring international flavors, like curry, into the family kitchen. These smart cooking tricks from the 1970s Housewives show that with just a little ingenuity, every meal becomes easier. If you find these old secrets useful, please hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you are curious to know why 1950s women could use evaporated milk to whip like whipping cream, turn savory gelatin into a strange salad, or utilize tomato juice to tenderize meat, continue watching the video. 25 smart cooking tricks only 1950s housewives knew and we totally forgot. You will be surprised.